They got the wall compound over there. She'll be safe for a while.
Normally it's Kai that's late coming back from the break. This is the first time we've missed coming back from and seeing Chad.
Did he say where he was going?
No.
Did he just dip? Did he just run?
Whoops. Lost him.
You're fired, Chad.
Dang it!
He had one job.
I had one job to show up. I apologize. I am back.
Did your cat like run around the house?
I had a phone call from the fiance, and I had to talk to her for a little bit, so I do apologize. We're still
Bye.
Little bit of aggro from the soon-to-be wife.
yeah. The new time. We're adjusting. So.
Oh, just wait.
That,
Have you gone? You haven't gone like cake tasting yet, have you?
No, that is something I would love to do on a weekly basis. Though,
so I'm not gonna lie. Like when I meet like the one and true Mrs. Gladys and we decide to get married, I think I'll bring a shovel to cake tasting day, like a small spade with me. I'll be like,
spoon.
Yeah, just they're like, here's these tiny little pieces. Like, no, I brought my own apparatus.
I thought this was a cake testing. I need a whole cake.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
Ladies, please inquire with me at Twitter.
I think we were going to let Zoran...
Are you getting on ladies?
Yeah. Normally I keep the mic open, but tonight I decided I was going to close it for whatever reason.
Can I go cake tasting with Gladys and act like the missus so we can get cake?
We can go anywhere if we're gonna get free stuff.
Alright.
But I was going to turn it over to Flatus and Zoran for our final and last comments regarding combat before we move on to like more interesting topics from my point of view, which the AI, which we should see within the next month or two. We should start seeing our first glimpses of it.
And Zoran, you are more.
Yeah. Basically, with the entire thing of combat, no matter what changes, if it goes hotkey, not everyone's going to be happy. If we go action combat, everyone's not going to be happy. If we make a lot of modifications, if we do a lot of stuff, not everyone's going to be happy. And we can compare it to a lot of things, but comparing it to things isn't going to mean it's going to be 100% that. It's like going to Surgeon Simulator and going like, yeah, is this going to be in a first-person mode? And then everyone's going to go, oh my god, it's another Call of Duty clone. Those how could they? But we're gonna have to see what they do in the future. We can speculate all we want now. But definitely it's one of those problems where we kind of go like, well, it's beta and alpha, and we can't talk about it yet. It's not done yet. But the thing is that if we don't talk about it now, or if you don't give your feedback now, it's not going to be how the community wants it in the future. It's not going to be how we want it to like evolve in the future. That's why we were complaining all about it now. That's why we're saying I will never play this if it's like this, or I'm totally on board if it's like this. Basically, for me, I want it to be action combat MMO, but I also want options. I want options to change my abilities from a left and my right mouse button. I want it to always be locked on forward. In fact, I wouldn't mind if it's hotkey MMO as long as my camera is constantly going forward and I actually have to aim my attacks. Like, that would be the best compromise I can go with between the hotkey players as a car drives by and a action combat system. We can make as many compromises as we want, but I 100% guarantee you somebody will go, that is a terrible idea and I hate it. And we will never win in that argument. We'll never win in that entire discussion. But all we have to say now is that we can complain all we want, give our opinions on the combat now, and once it gets updates and feedback goes, we'll keep telling them where to turn the knob so it gets better. And Flatus can go ahead and go with your bit.
Yep, there you go. Listen, I think that one of the things that we need to stop getting hanged up on is that we know Dave Jordan said it's kind of like an action-based mode, and I get that, and I want it to be an action game. I want to be able to hit a button and my sword swings. Like, and I want it to, when I swing my sword, I don't want it to be like I'm targeted on this guy, even though there's 3 guys in front of me. My sword, if I do a side sweep, I only hit 1 guy. That's not combat. That's not closer to what real combat is in real life. Like, I know it's still a fantasy game, but if somebody swings a sword in front of 3 people, you're going to hit 3 people. That's that's just the cut of the way it works.
You want logical attacks. Really.
Exactly, and I think they can deliver that, and I think they're on the right path, regardless if it's Landmark or if it's EverQuest Next, whatever your choice of combat is. And do I think that Landmark combat can be adjusted and tweaked to make better? Yes. Is it good now? Is it fun now? Yeah, it's fun, but is it perfect? No. Everything can be perfected on. Is it the first iteration? Yes. Are there people that love it right now and think it's the bee's effing knees? Yes. And those people are not wrong. They're just not wrong. And there's people that say, like, listen, these are where you can make your tweaks and make a better combat system. Are those people wrong? No. Absolutely not. But you have to look at where it's going to go. If we can make the adjustments work, if Sony can look at it and make adjustments work, then you'll make a better game. You'll just make a better game. It's exactly what Zoran. Oh jeez. that
dog is not happy.
Dog. Apparently.
How like, no, you're talking about combat.
No one can hear that. I muted.
I apologize. They're playing tug of war with each other. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. And at the same time, like from what we saw with Combat EverQuest Next, like, I think they're heading in the right direction. We know that if somebody lights the ground on fire, they have said that, like, it's going to interact with different classes. If somebody shoots an arrow through that arrow will catch fire, and like that's good. That's something from Guild Wars that I liked. I liked that there was this fluidity between classes a little bit. Like, if I laid down ice on something and you did your sword spin and then it attacked, it did, like, this is the way we should move. This is the way that things should be. Like, we need to start getting out of this, like, oh, I want, like, everyone's holding up and standing up right now and saying, like, puffing out their chest, like, combat is this way, combat is that way. No. Combat is the way that it's going to work best. And in Sony, I trust Sony. I really do trust Sony in making a combat system that works. Is it the one part of the game that defines it? No. What defines an MMORPG is the lore, all the mechanics, not just the one mechanic, but all the mechanics and how they work, and the fact that you can have fun with everybody. And at the end of the day, I don't think that everybody in chat would disagree with me, and the rest of the co-hosts right now would disagree with me, that at the end of the day, the most important thing is that if we all log into this game and we can put our crap that we had to deal with out from the day aside and have fun for a few hours, that is the most important thing. If we can have fun at the end of the day with this game, then that is the most important thing for me in gaming. I don't care if I'm playing, like, a game about a cat. And all I am is jumping on. Like, I played that game. There's a game where you're just a cat and knock crap off a shelf. I played that game. Was it fun for 5 minutes? Yeah. It's 20 minutes later. I'm trying to beat my high score and knocking crap off a shelf. So, look at us. We play. Is Smite the best MOBA out there? I think it's fun. I don't think it's the best. I think there could be better. But I like it. I like that we get together on Friday nights and play that game. I think it's hilarious that I can be a little short dude and grow to gigantic sizes and punch dudes. I think that's hilarious. That's the way I am. If I can have fun with a group of friends, and that's what the most important thing. Do the mechanics need to work? Yes. Does the lore need to be good? Yes. But I trust Sony. I really do trust Sony. But all we can do as gamers is give them our feedback and make sure it's useful. And just make sure that it's tied in. If you say, like, tell them why you don't like it. Tell them, like, I think you should express yourself. Just like anybody on the show has the right to express themselves, everybody in chat has the right to express themselves. And express yourself to Sony and say, like, listen, this is where you fault, and this is where you're doing good. And see where they change it. Do I think hot bar combat will come to Landmark? I say no, but but listen, prove me wrong. Fight for it. If you want it, say it. Show me that they'll put it in. Like, I am not, like, listen, just because I am stuck in my ways on how I think that combat will go, doesn't mean that I am wrong. I'm just saying, like, I want to see the community come together and prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me that you can make that happen. Because if you want the tools, then say you want the tools. If you wanted this, you want to see what the combat is in EverQuest Next, then tell us
but Flatus,
combat.
Flash, we need monsters to test out with first.
Bring us
We need to
monsters.
figure
You
out
know
how they
what?
interact with everything, though. So let's
Transition.
figure out what the AI is about first.
I
We'll see how
will.
combat works.
I will say super quickly that it is a distinct possibility that I will like combat more when they introduce monsters instead of it being versus people. I will leave with that.
So, I mean, and like I said, we need to see. But at the end of the day, and you know what, and since we mentioned AI, I think this is going to be a good segue. Let's talk about AI. Let's segue over to the AI part of the show, because that's a huge thing. That is going to be a huge thing for Landmark and EverQuest Next. So.
Right.
Hanlon.
As they've told us, the moment that they put monsters in the game, they're going to give us access to those same monsters to throw down on our claim. As soon as we can throw them on our claim, they're going to give us the tools to augment the AI, and give us the same tools that they have. And so that will be our first look at the Storybrick AI system. So I'm imagining that this is going to be like AI, like, hey, this is your guarded spot. You pace between these two spots, and if you get kited away this far from your posted spot, you leash back to it. I expect it so much more than that. So what do you guys think? What type of AI things that we will see? Do you think that we're going to have the same sort of like leash at this distance, guard this spot type things?
From what we've heard, no, we won't.
And them to leash if we want them to.
I mean,
That's a good point.
There's a point on doing AI in combat, doing AI in the world. Mostly what they've been talking about is doing it in the world. Like, if you get them out of the forest, they got to leave the forest now and go over to the mountains or whatever. That's cool and all, but is it just going to be like really mundane getting them out of the forest? Am I just going to be like grinding them out like every other MMO? Am I going to go over and like, hark, orc, I shall now press this button at you continuously and you will do nothing different. You will do nothing cool. What I would like to see is like hobgoblins or something. I think it's hobgoblins. Yeah, like hobgoblins in D&D are actually pretty smart. They can actually be trained, and I want them to actually like take some shields and like put themselves together in like a phalanx formation to go against you. If they see you're an archer, they'll use their shield more. If they see you're a mage, they'll try to like move around more or try to close the gap more. If they see you're a warrior, they'll try to like do a mix, like staying at a distance when your attacks are ready, but going in when they see an opening. Like there needs to be more happening with it. Like if you go up to a person as a mage, like they need to react to you going, oh crap, he's a mage, I probably need to do this. Like that's how far I want the AI to go.
I listen, from when I was watching I really wish somebody else filmed that AI segment. From what I could hear from the AI segment, at least for the EverQuest Next AI segment, I'll be blown away. Like,
Oh yeah.
Like, the moment something realizes like my attack patterns and says, "Hold up, let me adjust the way I'm fighting you," I'll be like, I don't even care if it's a rat. I don't care if it's a bear. You come at me with a bear. If you put me on a bear quest, that bear better be like, I'm sidestepping you, bro. Like that bear, like just like more bears come out of the woods, and like I don't care if whatever. What's a flock of bears? An army of bears. If
One dead bear attracts every bear in a 50-mile radius.
Right.
Yeah, something.
Well, and that's like in conversations with other people that have talked to the developers about the AI, they say that you're going to be able to just like take a weapon and equip it on one of the NPCs, and that will dictate the NPC's behavior. Like it will be preset to behave differently. And not only that, and then if you take a crown and you drop it on another NPC, like all of the other NPCs around it will treat it differently just because you've crowned that one. And that's incredible because, it's like all of a sudden, we as players will be able to see okay, there is the orc with the biggest stick in the group. And based on that, we will be able to predict their behavior. And, to a small extent, it's no longer going to be just like your I mean, we were just criticizing MOBAs earlier, but it's not going to be like the whatever they're called, the mobs that just run across the screen that you kill in 2 or 3 shots, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. Eventually, they're going to be like, okay, we need to form up, protect the big guy, protect our magic users. This one over here, he can heal us, so he needs to really protect that guy. That type of stuff.
But I like to. I'm sorry, dear. Go ahead.
It's okay. I was just going to say that I'm getting called a casual in chat, and I'm not entirely sure how to respond to that. Danlin, am I a casual? Oh, he has to think about it.
It's okay. Delmon EQ said he will ruin me. In chat, he's like, did Flatus say earlier? He's like, did Flatus tell everybody to unite against him and prove him wrong? He's like, I will do this. I will ruin you, Flatus.
There's a lot of different definitions for casuals. A lot of people like to use that word. It's mostly an insulting thing, going, "Oh, you're not as like super mega late swords as me or whatever." Pretty much, they usually say it as an insulting way. Now that's being implemented, because usually when people say someone's a casual, or what it used to be, it's pretty much, you don't really play as much as some other people. Like, you don't stay up like to 4 a.m. when you have to work at like 6 a.m. in the morning and keep raiding or whatever. That you would consider to be hardcore. Like, so you have to schedule your day.
Well, I will say this about Kailas being casual or not. If you go and you look up my character in my guild on whatever tracking website that is for Warcraft, right? Like, I'm in the top 1% based on achievement points, right? I've got like over 17,000 achievement points, top 1%, blah, 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 right? If you want to look at the rating system for the guild on who is the highest hardcore raider, it's not me, it's her. She's got more achievements in that area of the game than I do. And that's where like the definition of like what's hardcore or what type of gamer you are, it is so ambiguous, because like she's done more raiding than I have, but I've done more content than she has. And I would consider myself the hardest of hardcore gamers. I just don't like raiding.
And I'll say this, like Mr. Tobin Irwood calls himself the hardcore PvP king. And listen, I will tell you this, I have bested him more than once in PvP. Actually,
when you beat him, did you just yell in his face like "wrecked"? Did you just run away?
Do we have it on video?
Oh yeah, I think we have it on video, like in just numbers. Like even the Helsing army came in and wrecked Tobin's Team Tobin. Like we wrecked Team Tobin. Like he is someone who prides himself on like being a hardcore PvPer. Got wrecked by me, and I don't PvP. Like I rarely PvP. So let's just put that out there.
I'd like to go back to the AI though. With like you guys were talking about, like, hey, this guy's a big stick and how they move. What I'd like to see is actually roving bands of orcs that work together. Like there are some orcs who are warrior, and then there's a orc mage and an orc priest or some sort. They like heal each other, and if you get close to the priest and attack them, the warriors get super angry and go straight after that person. Or they might smarten up and go, hey, that guy's healing. Nuh-uh, we go straight for that guy. And the tank or guy who's dedicated to like protecting the group has to focus like on those guys real fast, or they have to CC them. Like they have to do it. Like you have to fight these groups of people in a specific way or in a dynamic way, not what people want. But things change. The orcs might get smart and go, hey, that guy heal much good. Me smash mini, and then they have to deal with them. Or the other orc man might go, hey, that tank is really messing us up. We have to concentrate on him.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I think it's time for a giveaway, but I don't know which.
Oh, we totally missed that.
Gladys was asking, but you weren't responding, so I'm totally like calling you out.
Yeah, I didn't know what to give away.
Oh man,
I wanted to give away first, so I mean, listen, I'll do it. Listen, I can handle it. I can handle it full box. Just tell me.
You're doing three giveaways. You're doing 3 giveaways. It's 1 upkeep pack and 2 portal shard packs. Handle it.
So I'll do one every 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right. 1 upkeep and 2 portal shards. Gotcha. I'm on it.
What I'm looking forward to in EQN is the same thing that we're seeing already in H1Z1, and that's not so much how they react to me, but how they react to their environment, how their motivations as an NPC character carry forth and affect my gameplay, even when I'm not facing them. You see that they're creating a cycle where bears will hunt wolves, and wolves will hunt the deer, and they'll all try and fight each other in H1Z1. We're going to see that in EQN, and I don't know to the extent that we'll see that in Landmark, because right now the mobs that were teased weren't even sentient, so I don't know how they're supposed to think, because they looked like a bunch of just organisms that were waiting around for you to fall into their trap. But that is the first iteration, so we'll see how it goes when it comes to fruition. But that's the thing I think I'm most looking forward to. If I'm not fighting the orcs and I'm helping the dark elves instead, what does my effect helping the dark elves have on the world at large? Do the orcs really just get infuriated and get the dragons on their side and come back with such ferociousness? If I didn't help the dark elves before, would that not even have happened? That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing, and that's what they demoed at SOE Live. Of course, we haven't seen any kind of AI pathing, real kind of live demo of this AI, and that worries me a little bit. It's a huge predicament. Obviously, it's something that they've been working on for a long time, and they're still working on it. I just hope that they can get it done, because it does seem to be some kind of big technical issue. We'll see how long it takes them. They have it working in H1Z1. Apparently, that's similar AI, but a very different engine. It's not voxel-based. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I wish that they would redo the demo that they did at SOE Live so that people could, like, the people that weren't at SOE Live could start seeing it. But going on what Zoran was saying about the orcs and stuff like that, like I've mentioned before, like my ultimate system for NPCs and orcs and stuff like that is that through emergent AI behavior, right, the orcs are like, they're relegated to like being over in this location all of the time, and the developers, like, they notice that that's where the orcs are hanging out, so they build in, after a rally call, all of a sudden the orcs have a fort there now, like in over time, right? Because that's what they're going to want to do. They're going to be like, okay, if we leave our fort, we get our ass kicked. So we're going to establish a fort so that we have a little bit more defense against all of these other things that are happening to us. And that the developers didn't decide like, hey, this right here is we're going to be where the orcs put down a fort. It's going to be because the players on that server created this pattern of behavior based on the AI's reaction to it, that's where the orcs hang out, that the developers are reacting to the AI in that way. And I think that would be just incredibly cool to see, like, the different flavors of the servers might be slightly different in that area.
God, I hope the progression can drastically differ so much that when I log on to someone else's server, like a whole city could not be there. That would be ideal in my opinion. Because then you have multiple games you can kind of play at the same time. That would be crazy. I don't know how you keep up with that.
Exactly. Like, that just blows my mind to an extent that, like, I'm like, well, would it be fair to do it? The first off, right? Would it be fair to have the servers just be in drastically different places in a storyline or something like that? And to an extent, they've said yes, that there will be hidden rally calls in the world, and if they're not triggered, they're not triggered. Bottom line. And so you might see servers radically different in that way. But I'm talking about, like, okay, so rally calls are one thing, and maybe they could even call it that. Like, if the orcs accumulate at this location for a certain amount of time because we predict that that's where they're going to be, then there's going to be, in an update or whatever, or maybe they'll just start building. You'll just see the NPCs over there start building, and if you don't stop them from building, nope, guess what? They got a fort. You didn't stop them.
That's a great point.
Now, to touch a little bit about what we were talking about on Twitter with a lot of people was PvP servers with the AI system. How do you think that those PvP servers will fare with, like, the rallying calls and stuff and this active AI? They're going to have to participate with some PvE things.
Actually, Rift has actually done that before and have ran into that problem, and I can tell you that it was terrible. Because the very public rifts or whatever on a PvP server where both factions can participate, it turns less into, let's do the event, to, there's a giant army on each side, let's see who wins with this wild card inside. And it was terrible. Yeah.
It was fun when I was in a PvP guild. But they were hardcore PvP, so to be on the opposite side, it would suck. Yeah.
No, and I think that the the EverQuest Next can address this problem, because the reason why those type of conflicts, like you've got like the building, the escalation of two sides in a conflict is, one, you're not going to have just two sides to a conflict, because everybody, including the factions themselves, are going to have their own interest in all of the conflicts that are going on, and that's the second thing is that there will be multiple little faction warfare going on all over the place. So like when in Rift, one, there was only two factions, and two, the only thing that you had to do was those big public rifts if you weren't in an instant raid. And so they created that mess, that nightmare standoff between two huge armies, simply because that's all that you had paths to choose from. But I think that EverQuest Next is going to be totally different, because multiple factions and multiple smaller conflicts that don't raise to that epic conflict. But you know what? If it happens, I think that one of those every year or so where things just like build up to a massive conflict would not just be, I mean, that would be the awesomest thing that I can imagine in a game.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like say like when I'm sorry, but you said like if the orcs are going to attack the castle, one side can go help the castle, and the other side can help the orcs, right? What you mean? So
well, right,
in layman's terms,
right, and it's all these small battles, like right, like maybe the orcs are trying to get this strategic advantage over here or this strategic resource over here, and if the players are able to get that, then then the other side, will have to do this, and it's a whole bunch of little small skirmishes. What did they call that? Brush fires, like when they're talking like Cold War and Hot War, and then all of these brush fires that keep like popping up, and the players and the NPC factions keep stomping them down, and eventually something just major erupts, and you've got massive factions going to war because now they're at that point where they're really butting heads with one another.
Flash, you can go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was
sorry for stopping you there.
No, it's okay. I was writing a message to LaCool J because they won the first Portal Shard pack. So congrats to LaCool J. Yeah. What I was gonna say, at least with like the PvP server, like I would feel bad. Like I mean, it's their choice to be there, but at the same time, like they definitely and we've heard them say, and I believe them, that they want every server to have its own unique, like, this is what happens from this action in this rallying call, and they've split Y down this path instead of this path. Like, we could have servers that are doing really good, and we could have servers that have failed things. Imagine being on a PvP server where they've always failed things. Like, what type of world? You go in there and you're just like, oh dear God, this place is like this day. Like, you just walk in there and it's like, it's like Planet of the Apes. You walk in there and like, these damn dirty apes.
But but with what Talon was suggesting, like, one's failure might be another's victory.
Oh, absolutely.
So one side might be like the dark elves and the evil races might be way superior in one way, but the good, like the dwarves and humans, might be in the slums right now in that server, might be different for the other ones. So I think that's how it's going to try and fix itself, so it's not like everyone's not always in the slums. But if there's ever a case where both always fail, which I don't think that's a possibility, but yeah, that server would be completely screwed if that happened.
See, I don't like. I was like watching when I was there at the SOE Live. The content of EverQuest where they were talking about the AI system, it was like, I think that in the Q&A that they did afterwards, like, say that there is the Tempest class, and the Tempest class is taught by this one particular faction, and the only way you can get this class is by helping this faction out. But on your particular server, they've knocked down that faction so that it's like almost non-existent or whatever. They said that they will never put content behind something that players can make it inaccessible. So like if but they said that what they might do though is they might hide that Tempest class multiple places. And so like the really commonly known one could be available on all these other servers, but on this other server, no one's found it yet. But I don't see it. What do they call it? A zero-sum game. I don't see that like the AI and PvP especially like being a zero-sum game where if this team is up, this team must be down. Because again, I think that the players themselves are not going to align themselves strictly with a two-party or a two-faction system, because you're gonna have the players that are like, I'm gonna align myself with the Dark Elf faction, and the other team is going to be like, well, okay, I really, really hate orcs, and I will align myself with anybody who's attacking orcs, because in my roleplay experience, orcs massacred my village, and now I'll do anything I can to get them back. I don't see, like, the reason that, like I was saying, like, Rift runs into that problem and Warcraft in open world PvP runs into that same problem is because there are only two factions, and that is limited by the developers themselves. And players have, like in other games, have consistently asked for that sort of thing, like a third faction or open factions where we can move between them, or we can be more, like a more fluid faction system. And that's really where EverQuest Next in an RP PvP server type set really, really shines. You won't see me on any other server but that one. That's where I'll be.
Same. Because I think that guilds could operate just like an extra faction in the game, especially on a PvP
Absolutely.
server. I mean, I build my own kind of PvP castle, and I have my guild defending it 24/7 against whatever, and we aid the battles however we do. It would have a huge effect, and it would make other PvP guilds come after us. So it's just like adding another faction to the game. That's cool. Like Daok style, a little bit, you know. That was fun in Daok, just staying up all night and building like walls to like fight open world style. There's never been a good there's never been an open world PvP game like that for me, and I'd love to see Elements return in EQN, especially with the AI on top of it.
Yeah, and really quickly, when I'm talking about factions, I'm not talking about like a little faction bar that you earn points on getting. I'm just talking about like a group of people or an alliance of people or whatever they're called. I'm not talking like our traditional sense of factions. I'm just talking, like you've got like your dark elf interests and you've got your orc interests and you've got all these other different interests, and it's just really easy to throw them under the umbrella term faction.
What about the frog?
The Froglock, the Ratanga, the Fae.
The fly population's down this year, so.
Oh, someone think of the poor Froglocks. It's funny.
Go ahead.
It's funny that you mentioned that because in the RP PvP server that I came from in Warcraft, there was an all Tauren guild, and if you're not familiar with Tauren, they're basically minotaurs. They're bulls that are anthropomorphic. But one of their favorite in-game jokes is they're always talking about raiding the other factions' oat stores so that they can have more access to oats. And it's great that they tell these little stories with one another, but it would be even cooler if they could really go like, those people have a whole bunch of oats. We're attacking them.
That'd be cool. Legendary Neurotoxin has posted 2 questions in chat, which I think are really relevant to our discussion. The first one's on combat, super quick. He wondered if you feel the combat system right now is too fast for different damage locations. Like if I had a headshot on somebody in an FPS, it could be an instant kill. But the way Landmark feels or the way EQN feels, would you like to see that ability? Do you think it's possible with the current implementation?
I can say that. I was gonna say I could say this playing because I play a lot of FPSs. Depending on the FPS, if you're playing something like Team Fortress, where it's a team base, every class has a different special ability. Like the scout is very quick. The sniper still has the ability to kill. I mean, he could still kill if he gets the shot in on the scout, but I mean, you could still take out the medic. You could still take out the soldier, the spy. I mean, you have the ability to take out, like, it's still balanced where you can still take out the other team. And for CSGO, or you could still, I mean, like, everyone's on the same field as you, speed-wise. What we're talking about is that since the movement's so fast, it's like, what's the point of the bow and trying to get a headshot? Like, if you get the headshot in, that took a lot of skill to get that damn headshot in because everybody's moving so damn quick. Like, it's, to me, like the bow, like you gotta lead people with the bow to get shots in with the bow.
You do.
Like, and it's a lot of lead. Like, I mean, unless you're floating around, like, listen, you want to cheat, get the belt of Zephyr, you can just float over people and shoot down, rain arrows. Because everybody's grouping up trying to attack each other, and I'm just shooting arrows, and like, you're gonna hit somebody. You're gonna hit somebody.
I wouldn't like to see it in the game because it requires body simulation. I don't think the combat system or the game set up to have body simulation. Like, if I'm going to root somebody, just give me like a root ability. I don't need to have to actually damage their leg on their character and have that happen. So that's my answer.
And from my point of view, like, I'm thinking about players like my dad. Like, combat is already something that I'm having a hard time for him fitting into. But if you add in headshots and stuff like that, he's just, again, he won't be able to. Not at all.
What was the other question?
The other question has to do with should players be able to make evil factions that are KOS, like undead or ringer scale forces? So should players be able to actually fully align themselves as evil to troll the world? So right now they're talking about abilities to where I can aid the orcs, and when I aid the orcs, it kind of affects the dark elves. But I think Legendary is getting at this question is, should we be able to say, hey, we totally want to be evil in this game. We want to go against the status quo. Should that be possible?
Yeah,
Why
there
not?
should be a server rule set where Frodo never gets the ring to Mount Doom to destroy it, and Sauron gets it back and just lays waste to Middle Earth. Like, yeah, sure, why not? Because, like, even in Warcraft, the players that play on like those heavily imbalanced PvP realms, they still have fun doing it because sometimes it's like, how much can I get away with before like the big Imperial force realizes that I'm doing stuff and comes and knocks me down? Because it's a game without, it's not like a permadeath server, so the worst thing they do is, send you to a spawn point and you go about on your merry way again.
Sometimes playing the bad guy is really fun.
I would go for it because there are times where I just really don't like playing with the gnomes, and I just really want to slaughter them because I can't stand. Like, it's funny because I really like the dwarf races. Not because they're short or anything, but I just cannot stand gnomes. I cannot stand pixies. Especially cannot stand elves. Elves are the best.
Oh, really?
I hate elves. They're snooty, snobby. Look at me, I'm a pretty little race, and it would be great to become a faction or just turn evil to slaughter every single one of them.
I don't like gnomes either. It's okay. I will punt gnomes gleefully with you.
But
oh man, somewhere a Calgor just
I know, and
I will become a Chaos Dwarf if need be. And I'll play against the elves in Blood Bowl.
My first MMO character ever was Jarl of Michaelia, the Vanguard, gnome blood mage.
I love it. I love every part of that. Listen, that's my favorite part. I think at the end of the day, we all just want something that we can get into and make something that's like, I don't even care if it's a gnome. You can make like, I just want to make my epic dude just roll around and just be like, look at me, I'm mighty and my sword and my friend, and we're gonna go kill dragons. I'm gonna kill a dragon.
I'm gonna kill a gnome.
But that goes back to my whole point. Like, of course, there should be the world, the different servers should be free to be to ebb and flow as the players direct, because that's what we've been asking for. Even if that means that there can't be a troll server, because okay, on this server we're going to take it and we're going to push the dark elves as high as we can up the influence chart. There's always going to be, there's no longer the trolls. It's just the server where the dark elves have the most influence. There's and when I say troll, I don't mean like troll NPC race. I mean like the people that are just griefing other players through game mechanics. But I don't want the developers, I don't want to play on a server that calls itself PvP where I can see players attacking like I'm a nature lover, I'm a druid, and I see these players attacking the dryads because it's what they do in this area, and I can't come to the dryads' aid by killing the other players. Like, that would really bother me. I should be able to, regardless of any consequence further down the road, because let it happen.
For sure. But then, does that mean PvE is going to be casual? Am I not going to be able to affect the world as much in PvE as PvP?
Honestly, who cares? If you want a PvE server, if you're on a PvP server, that's your focus. The PvE server, that's what we tell people. Like, PvE service over there, and you have to. Basically, it's swapping one type of content for another. Is what you do.
And the cool thing is we can have multiple different servers of server sets in EQ, and they're doing that with H1Z1, where it's even player created in a way and voted on. I mean, we could easily see that for EQN, where it could be even limited in the amount that you can PvP or where you can PvP. You could make an RP rule set that actually guides role playing somehow in the game. It's possible from what we guess. We'll see, of course, when it comes time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have because that's the thing that was brought up before when the H1Z1 was talking about their different server sets, and people were asking for an RP PvP set, and somebody came back and asked me. I was like, okay, well, what rules would you see the developers implement on the server to make it an RP server? And I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, it's hard, yeah.
Name approval. Well, who gets to approve the name? Because the developers don't want to sit down and approve every name that gets created in the game. And then what do you do? I guess the only thing that you could do is have a more rigorous report where you'd be like, this person is on an RP PvP server and they are literally, not just like and deliberately upsetting the RP on that server. Therefore, please take some action. But again, that's the other thing. That my immediate comment after somebody asked me that question is like, well, that's fine. Don't create an RP PvP server, because regardless of whether or not you do, the RP PvPers will just create one on their own. They'll be like, this is where we're going to be on. If you like this style of gameplay, come here. And they will. I will. And the people that like that will.
No, listen. I'm with you. Like, I shouldn't be able to go on a RP PvP server and make a game name I don't know, Gee Buttersnaps. Although I will. I'll be the Gee Buttersnaps, or the Galileo Humpkins, or the Chubby Pumpalove.
See, that's the thing. I don't know if that could not. I mean, I've seen halfling names in EverQuest 2 just like that. So who says that those couldn't be real RP names? I mean, who's creating the narrative on that RP?
I have some cotton candy narwhals.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things where like one of the player guilds that I was in previously, like the guild leaders, right? You had to submit an application to join the guild. One of those that was like, what's your in-game character? And they're like, nope, that is not an RP name. Or, hey, that name sounds like you just took two words and put them together that were kind of random, like whatever. Could you explain that a little bit? What were you going for there? And and again, the SOE has been setting it up to harness the power of the players. It's just another way of doing it, is like, let the players decide.
I think it's important to not like allow people to have a character named Dritz, because really, or
but what if I make them XX Dritz _XX? Is that okay then?
I mean,
Emochi YOLO Swag Pro.
Wow.
Sephiroth Reaper Slayer.
YOLO Baggins. YOLO Swaggins.
Oh my god. Well,
there's a guy in Playside named that.
It would be like, why would you want somebody in an EverQuest game to have like Antonia Bale or Nagafin or I mean,
I'm pretty sure they have a list of blocks.
Yeah, they'll probably take their names. Fiona V probably take it.
That's sort of what I'm getting at. Like you would think that there would be at least some sort of generalized rules of what you can and can't use, and yeah.
But like for example, there's a road in here in Antelope Valley outside of where we live, and I don't know how it's pronounced. Is it ZZ? It's ZZYZT? Zitzt Road? Zizit Road? And it was just random letters that some, cartographer threw down, and that's the name of the road right now. So even the most rigorous naming system that you put in, something's going to slip by. It's best to just keep it kind of, in my opinion, just keep it kind of general, major
KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Right. But literary figures, well-known literary figures, you probably want to put them on the band name list, and your own IP characters' names you want to put on that band name list.
But what if I want Gandalf with 2 Fs?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Somebody wants a Russian name.
If you get Gandalf, I'm just saying I get Pulgara. Whatevs.
But Talon, like, I think what World of Warcraft usually does is that they'll put like just general, like, you can't have this name, and they'll just slowly expand on it every major big patch. They're like, a lot of people are taking this stupid name, let's force a name change and just add this to the
right. And I've had it where we were on here's one of the things that you can do on an RP server in Warcraft, right? Is that they say that you have to have an RP name, and that they can enforce that, but they don't restrict it on character creation. What they do is they if you report someone for having a non-RP name on an RP server, they'll look into it, and if they agree with the person who makes the complaint, they will force the name change that way. And so that you see how where it's like it's putting the power on the community. They're like, we don't care really, but if you complain, if we get enough complaints about this particular name, YOLO Swaggins, they'll be like, okay, you're right. YOLO Swaggins is not a name that belongs on an RP server.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing.
And we totally got off topic. We always do. despite my best intentions, that we have 5 minutes left in the show, and the only thing I want to say about the blueprint is that if you look closely at it, right, they're talking about in the future they're adding the different characteristics of character creation, right? They're giving us more customization and everything. And on a separate line, if you've noticed it, if you look at it, large humans. And I just wanted to throw it to our guest and to our cast. Large humans, do you think that means new races, or do you think it just means something else?
Which comes first on the blueprint? Sorry.
I'll bring it up and look.
It can be like, I don't know if they did any specific. I haven't got the Reddit, but if it's large humans, as in like size, like I can increase my body size or whatever. Like I can put some more fat on me, or I can pretty much make me look a little more different, or like adjust my body size more. Then great. I mean, we need more customization like that. If it means like ogres and stuff, if it's going in Landmark, right?
Yeah.
Like just for them. Okay, then I don't think it's going to be ogres at all. Because I've been told multiple times, oh no, we're not going to put races in at all or anything in Landmarks. Everyone's just going to be human, which really killed every machinima thing for me. If they do change that, awesome. I love that. I want to be a dwarf in that. I've always wanted to be a dwarf, but I haven't heard anything.
Finally.
Like, seriously, like, why are you restricting races in Landmark? Like, stop it. Just put them in there. You can like test animations there, and then you can just part over the next when you're ready for it. Like,
So
come on
they've
now.
in the roadmap they've listed it as two different things though. They've said larger humans and
No, not larger humans. Large humans.
Sorry.
And then on a separate line, it talks about
Better
character creation. Better character
They're
creation.
listed as different things.
Right. So that's why I'm like, well, what do you think that means?
So my take on it is maybe that the NPCs are going to follow like the whole Egyptian mythology thing, and like the godly things are going to be bigger than the regular people.
I'm not 100% sure on it. Like,
Yeah, me neither.
if they add another race into it, awesome. Like, at this point, I don't have enough information to really, like, go on it. Like, there's not enough info there for us to really think. I think it's just a slider. Like, it's just a different thing. But you do have a good point saying, like, more character customization is a different thing. But for all we know, because I know they've done it before, that they might have it like, oh, here's some more hairstyles. All right, that's our character customization. And, oh, you can make your guy bigger now or something. Like, if they start adding races in, awesome. Happy. But
I completely agree. And I wish we could see more, because if you want to make a game that's a sandbox where you can RP anything you want, let people kind of be whatever they want. I don't know. I think it might have been done just for emphasis, because Dave was typing up the patch, and maybe that was one of the big criticisms was, oh, you know, we can't make larger humans in any facet. So maybe he was just like, I'm going to explicitly type this out so I can get the hype going on it a little bit.
I don't know about that.
An oversight on their behalf.
I don't think that when he's writing up those blueprints, he glosses over any detail, because and the reason why I say that is because if he glosses over a detail and writes something that didn't mean to be written exactly that way, then players come back and be like, but you said.
They have done it in the past, though, many times with SOE, when they write things and say things, they'll have to retract and be like, no, we didn't quite mean it like this. I mean, we've seen it happen over the past couple months.
I'm pretty sure now with the way they change, like, you have to learn and grow as a company, so now I'm pretty sure because now they're on the road, let's be honest, they're on the road to open beta. So now they want to make sure that everything they're saying is going to come to fruition. They're going to hit marks because they're on the road to open beta. So, like, it's coming, folks. The floodgates is about to open, and we're on the precipice.
I don't know. Okay, what do you guys think open beta will hit? Just super quick. What's your
2015?
See, I don't know. I before the end of the year. I'd say before the end of the year.
I say December. I go with December too.
I'm saying November, end of November.
Oh.
Mid-10.
Well, you know,
that's a good. No, November's a really good month for like game releases, and SOE used to push November a lot with their game releases. Planeside 2 came out in November.
Saying November.
I wouldn't do it this November because Warlords of Draenor is releasing at that time.
That's exactly why I'm saying they're going to do it in November.
Maybe in very different games. I mean,
no, you must understand that when you're looking into marketing, that's why a lot of stuff goes in Christmas, because that's where more money flows. Right. That's why not a lot of stuff goes in January, because everyone's money's gone.
In November. And if you get the players playing in November and during open beta, then maybe by Christmas, when they get the Christmas money in, they'll be able to spend it in the marketplace, right? I'm gonna agree with Kellis. I think November's gonna be where they push it, but maybe, most likely, it might be December due to them not getting everything.
You mean
done
you're
the way
gonna
they
pay
want it to
$10 for a suit?
Yes.
Overpriced
If I
piece
get
of
like
crud.
$100 for Christmas from somebody, I'll pay $10 for a suit.
That $100 will not last, man.
I know. Tell me about it. PlanetSide has wiped out my station cash time and time again.
Oh, not just PlanetSide. I can go in like 500 years and how overpriced even Landmark is. Seriously, why is it 900 station cash? Why? Why?
I'm so glad I'm not the only one that gets ranty about that. Thank you.
Why would you ever market it that high? For $10, I can go play an indie game and get way more enjoyment than the stupid suit that you sell. Like, come on! Like, I don't care how pretty I care about the looks of how I look like in MMOs, but it's not $10 worth for one little tiny thing. Hell, it's $5 for a PNG on PlanetSide.
Yeah, and I am the anti. Like when I hoard my station cash, I never spend it on anything. I spend it when she asks me to spend it on her.
Which is never.
You ask.
Hey, babe.
Hold on, I gotta boot up my Landmark Clum. she's about to ask for something.
Tanlin made like this perfect I don't know what's going on anymore face, and I totally screen capped it.
Nice. You should post that on Twitter later.
I am.
love
That's
you.
going up later.
Flatus,
He's
you're
like,
amazing.
I lost all control of this show tonight.
You know what? And I love my position though, because that way I can feel like, hey, I tried to keep them on topic, but they just wouldn't stay. And I'm like, oh well, whatever. I don't care.
No, listen.
Listen.
I told you I was on a leash and I needed to hunt. It happened. I went out.
Talon's over there going, stay on topic. Stay on topic.
So how about that arcade, guys?
Well, see, now I have to. That's what I'm thinking about. It's like, and I'm going to ask in chat. Like, do you think that we covered Arcade enough, or because we're still going to try it out a little bit because there's some things that I want to see about it. Do you think that there's enough reason for us to come back next week and talk a little bit more about Arcade, or and all in examining what in that MMO that they're trying to do different, because every MMO that's coming out new right now is trying to do something different to gather a following, and you can't make the same thing. You have to be different, and so we can look at Arcade and what they're trying to do different and what we like and what we don't like about that, and then we can compare what they're doing different that we do like and say, hey, does that apply to EverQuest Next? Is that something that we'd like to see? And if you think that that's a good enough topic to talk about, let us know, because we want you guys to feel like you're involved.
Yes, and that is all the time we have for tonight, actually. Zoran the Bear, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out one more time, and then we'll do a little closing ceremony.
Okay, well, for those of you who don't know, I'm Zoran the Bear. The real bear is behind me controlling a puppet. And I make
Can you
YouTube
show us
videos.
the bear butt before we go?
No!
You don't.
Gladys
You don't
would be
get
so
to.
happy to see a bear
No.
butt before then.
No.
2 hours have gone by and no.
No.
Shwena, shut up.
Nah.
Bear butts.
Nah. I'll skank you and smite again. Don't try that.
Okay. That's what happens. Let me tell you. We'll stream it. Everyone can tune in. We'll see.
But
who
still.
wins and smite.
I like.
Still,
he does those little growls like my dogs do. That.
But yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's mostly PlanetSide 2 right now, but I'm actually starting to deviate it for other games right now. The funny thing about Arcade, funny enough, I actually have a video of a stream highlight of a Nicolas Cage boat, of a guy taking a boat and dragging it across land, and his name was Nicolas Cage, and he had Nicolas Cage on his sails, but a lot of magic happened that day. Pretty much highlights of that, and just planning a whole bunch of different videos that aren't PlanetSide right now, because playing it for like over a year, you kind of get tired of something. But mostly of that, it's mostly PlanetSide 2 videos still going out, like weapon reviews, machinima when I can make them. And there's also the Twitch channel, it's Zoran the Bear. Twitter, Zoran the Bear, everything Zoran the Bear, really. If you just Google that up, you'll find everything.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the EverCast Show. We will see you next week, live, same day, Sunday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 Pacific. And thanks for tuning in. Who wants to count us out? Zoran the Bear.
Sure. Camping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.